Good morning, everybody. My name is Ama Bookwan. It is our pleasure to be here with you today, and I am with my colleague,
Bello,
and we are, I am here in the great state of Georgia in the United States. This is our premier event, so we are happy that you are going to be joining us today, and we are very grateful to have our guest with us, Professor Akanbi, who is done us the pleasure of being our first guest. Allow us to tell us a little bit about our mission. We are Ile Eko Omolaubi, and we are committed to educating the African diaspora on issues of African ethics, history, and culture. Our guest today is Professor Grace Akanbi. She is a professor with 40 years of experience with a PhD in history and the policy of education. She has work experience sitting on the board of Ile Ife as well as the federal government. Her focus in her research has been on gender education, history, policy, and the restoration of culture and African culture of integrity. She has presented 52 national and international seminars and conference paper, 44 journal articles, 13 chapters in books, has co-authored 13 textbooks, and has written 1 book. It is our pleasure and honor to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Professor. So we're going to kickstart our series of questions. So we'd like to have a bit of your background, Professor.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Grace Akanbi. I was born a few months to Nigeria's independence in Odio State, to the Arowolo family. And I started my primary school at St. Michael's African Church Primary School. Ditto for my secondary school at St. Michael's African Church Secondary School. Afterwards, I proceeded to the prestigious United Missionary College to have my grade 2 certificate. And I graduated in 1978. Taught for 2 years in a primary school in Ile Ife. Then proceeded to Osun State College of Education, Ila-Orangun. And I graduated in 1983 as the best outstanding overall student academically. And that earned me a 2-year degree program in the University of Ilorin. I spent 2 years in the university. And the year I graduated, I had my appointment with the Omolaubi College of Education, Oyo, and I rose through the ranks to become a chief lecturer. They don't call us professor in the College of Education; they call us chief lecturer.
Oh.
But to my colleagues all over the world, they call me professor. And along the line, I joined some international organization, of my profession, and 2 of them particularly, International Standing Conference for the History of Education and International Congress for Historical Sciences, has afforded me the opportunity to actually portray African culture in my presentations. And one of the articles I presented was the one you saw. I presented it in China in 2015. I have some others, value-added policy for education and so on and so forth. And to the glory of God, have assumed pioneer positions in so many ways. I was the first African member of the International Standing Conference for the History of Education. I was elected in London in 2014. I was the first vice president of Historians of Education Development Society of Nigeria. I was the first chairman committee of deans and directors in my college, and the first female presenter of, we have series of distinguished staff lecture. I'm the first female presenter. And Along the line, I discovered that to sustain yourself as a teacher, you need interaction, especially with youth, and there is no way you can do your work without actually interacting with them using the culture of Omolaubi. And that is why in my place of work, I'm a symbol of integrity and even in the society. So as we progress, we can see more. But
and that's a perfect segue into the next thing I really want to ask you. A lot of our viewers, I would say most of our viewers, have no idea, never heard of the term Omolaubi. Can you give us a definition and an explanation of what it is? Where does it come from? What is its role in Yoruba culture?
Yeah, Omolaubi stands for everything that is good in the Yoruba culture. And the word Omolaubi was coined through contractions of sentences like Omo, Ti, Olu, Iwa, Bi. Omo, Ti, Olu, Iwa, Bi. So in those sentences, we may not be able to go into details, but there are two important words there, Omo and Iwa. Omo means child, Iwa means character. So in Yoruba nation, when you have Omo, you have a child, that's very important, but that child must be a child that has character. And in Yoruba nation also, character is more important than anything. You can have several houses, several certificates, several children, but if you don't have character, they see you as being useless. So, and that is why sometimes when some girls or married women, when they are unable to stay with their husband, you say, Obìnrin sọ ìwà nù, ó ní ohun mórí ọkọ wáyé. That is, you have lost character and you are saying you are not lucky marrying. So if you marry and you have character, you'll be able to stay there. So in short, Omolaubi means a person of good character, a person of integrity, a dependable person, a truthful person, a person that is hardworking, not lazy, a person that you can hand over any responsibility and go and sleep, a person that is trustworthy. That is what, think of any virtue that is good, that is Omolaubi.
In your article, you outlined some of the principles, specific intelligence, character, bravery that are considered critical to having the character of Omolaubi. Can you give us a little bit more about that? What the 8 principles are?
Yeah, in the African traditional education, for instance, the main guiding principle is functionalism. You'll be able to function. Do what you say. Work what you say. So when we talk of integrity, it's very, very important to the Yorubas. You are intelligent, you are wealthy, but you are not trustworthy. You are not Omolaubi. You have a relationship and the other person cannot trust you, you are not Omolaubi. In fact, the Yoruba people will say, Ọmọ tó sọ ìwà nù, ó ti sọ ayé nù, nǹkan rere ló nù. Let me explain that if you lost your character, you have lost life. You have lost everything that is good. So good character is very, very important. And you know, when we were young, part of the Omolaubi culture, when you are traveling from one village to the other and you are selling orange, all you need to do is to put, if the orange sells for 1 kobo, you just put 1 kobo and put plenty of oranges. And anyone who gets there will take one and put 1 kobo. Now, you can't try that. that Omolaubi system has gone. And Omolaubi again, you don't talk of stealing. In the Omolaubi culture, if you stole once and you are caught, you now become wealthy in the next 10 years. They will say, ẹni tó jalè lẹ́ẹ̀kan tó bá dàrán borí aṣọ olè ló dàbúrà. Yes. Yes, you wanted to say something?
Oh, interesting that you should say that. That's a really great example, you know, of being able to leave a basket of goods out there
Yeah.
and not have it stolen. What happened to that culture?
It has gone. It has vanished. If you try that now, your money and your oranges will be gone because the society is now rotten. What we look at before as something of shame is no longer something of shame to people. Before, you cannot steal and be walking around in the society. In fact, nobody wants to associate with you. Once they identify you as a thief, nobody wants to identify with your children. Nobody wants to identify with your family. But now you see thieves coming from the prison yard, and people taking the same material to identify him, to celebrate. So that culture has vanished. Rottenness in the society, Western education, and attachment, you know, importance attached to paper certificates. So people are no longer bothered whether you have your PhD and you are not useful. What is important? Yes, I have my PhD, I have my master's, but you may not have that skill. Contrary to the culture of Omolaubi, which is functionalism. You have to be able to function in whatever you are doing. I hope I've answered your question.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, Professor. So our viewers would like to know, how do you use your platform as an educator to really propel the principle of Omolaubi?
Yeah. The first step is punctuality at work. You know, I'm a teacher. If I have a lecture for 8 o'clock, my students know that by 10 minutes to 8, I'll be hanging around the lecture hall. Immediately, it is 5 minutes to 8, I'm already inside. If no lecturer is around, then we begin to chat. How was the night? Be good, and so on and so forth. So they know me, and it's part of Omolaubi. Let your time be your time. It's not you have lecture for 8 o'clock and 8:15, 8:30, you are coming. And you know, these students, they are watching you. In the future, some of them will have cultivated that habit through you. I had a presentation at University of Ibadan one day, and they asked people to be commenting. And one in particular student, I said, no, I don't want to comment on Madam's presentation. I want to comment on her. Probably she doesn't know me again, but she taught me in 1990. And if she says the class is 7 a.m., 5 minutes to 7, she's around. And I used to tell them, my 7 o'clock is operational. Once I get into the class, please don't bother at all to come. And you know what? By 5 minutes to 7, quarter to 7, my class will be filled up. That consciousness is always there. You know, we have to be role model. I'm a role model, and you know, I'm a mentor. I mentor so many people. Some of these students, after a few lectures, you see some of them thronging after me. Mommy, I want to know you more. And I'm always very free. I will teach them, don't cheat, be hardworking. That is part of culture of Omolaubi. You have to be hardworking. You don't cheat. Do whatever you know with your effort, and God will bless the rest. You know, these are some of the things. And even in the class, while teaching, I don't limit my discussion to the content alone, straight like that. There will be little diversion. For instance, when we teach value, in philosophy of education. What is value? Value is what you hold in high esteem. As you are here in the class, do you hold your coming here in high esteem? What do you want to be after leaving the school? Is it just to come and get certificate and go? No, no, no. It should be more than that. Because we believe that education should actually renew our culture, instill that culture in us. But unfortunately, because some people, they themselves, they are not models, they don't live exemplary lives. It's becoming more complex to actually pass that culture. But for those of us who believe in the culture of Omolaubi, we continue to try. There is no gathering that I will be, that I will not, just chip in a little, the culture of Omolaubi.
So the example you gave about punctuality is really interesting because African people, not all over the world, almost have a reputation of, Black people time, colored people time is what we call it here in America. And I spent some time in Ghana last year, and I have to be honest, we were often late to every event. Like, we were trying to load on the bus and we were often late. And then we all joked around, oh, this is where we get it from. It comes from the motherland. So that should be an interesting example. So tell us about that. Should we rethink that? Is that not endemic to African culture?
That's coming promptly to events?
Not coming promptly, because that is that reputation, the idea that we don't show up.
Sometimes they say African time.
Exactly.
With me, with me, there is nothing like African time. Let me tell you something. When I became the dean, I told my people, I said, if our meeting is supposed to start by 10, then it must be 10. We have to be in the hall before 10 o'clock. And once it is 10 o'clock, I call the meeting to order. By the time we did that for 2 times, honestly, I was highly impressed. People just need people to encourage them to do the right thing. But if you now follow, it's African time, we can go there anytime. No, African time is no time. So in my school now, School of Education in Manala, they call it education. When you call a meeting for 9 o'clock, get to that hall, 8:45, you will see the people trooping in and signing. And deans, 2 deans are coming after me. They maintain this culture. And anytime I get into the meeting, I feel so happy that at least I've done a kind of thing that has changed the attitude of people to this African time issue.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Professor. It's quite interesting you talked about people needing role models, because it's obvious that once people see a good example, they just fall in line. But it seems our society, mostly in Africa, we are short of that kind of leadership. How come the society is not producing the kind of people that will lead by example? How come it's the wrong people that are always at the end of affair, almost in most facets of the society? Did you get that, ma'am?
You have said 2 different people who are just no many. Let me confess that it is not easy in a rotten society to be upright. Sometimes they look at you as, what is wrong with this woman? She's odd. But if you don't mind their comments, their observation, and you are convinced that you are doing the right thing, then you continue. And little by little, they will fall in line. Now you are talking of people at the end of affairs. It's very, very unfortunate that we have such people at the top. And it is our society that has permitted that. People stole, you call it embezzlement. People transferred money that doesn't belong to them. You say money laundering and so on. If you are a thief, you are a thief. And a thief, yes, and a thief should be given the appropriate sanction. They have not been sanctioning our leaders. And that is why the young people feel, well, probably it has become part of the culture. But I bleed in my heart when I watch these things and I see things going wrong in the society, even at our little levels, right from the primary school, when we were young, during art and crafts, what you do is you either bring broom or unfinished work of palm fronds and so on, or clay for art and crafts. Now, in schools, on the day of art and craft, you see students putting 20 naira on the table of the teacher for art and crafts. So these children, they don't know anything, and you know, it really has to start from the grassroots. The grassroots has to be reshuffled, especially right from the kindergarten, primary school. When we were young, in the primary school, when we have gardening, all of us will go to the school with hoe or cutlass. Nothing like that. You have your portion in the school that you clear every morning. You have portion in the school garden. You have what to do. But all these things, little by little, they are being eroded. And I think we need value reorientation. Let our young people know that money is not everything. If you have money and you don't have character, you are a shame to humanity and God. So because these people are not being punished, so in fact, there is what I call in one of my papers, miseducation. Miseducation is our resources is a national cake. Go there and cut your own. Let me go and cut my own. And it's a kind of miseducation. It shouldn't be like that. It's part of what is eroding our culture of fear of being caught as a thief. Nobody fears that now. You go to the prison, you come back, people want to welcome you. They are all in uniform and they roll out drum to welcome thieves into the society. So I think we need to do more in apportioning punishments to people who actually do what is wrong.
So if they're going to prison and they're coming back and they're welcome, obviously prison is, you said they're coming from prison and they're coming back and they're welcome. Prison is supposed to be the punishment, right? So clearly they're being punished. But one of the ways society punishes, and I would imagine prior to colonization, prisons were not in existence in Yoruba land and on the African continent, so that we had other systems of policing behavior. How can we reverse the problem? How can we bring about a culture of shame, which you talked about earlier, so that the system of punishment becomes more effective? Because clearly prison is not doing the trick.
It's just like I said, it must start at the grassroots. If somebody is coming out from the prison yard and nobody goes out to welcome him or her, something inside him will tell him that he has done something bad.
So ostracization is what you're suggesting. We should ostracize people.
It's not ostracizing them per se, but making them to realize that what they have done. And you now see a kind of repentance that they were sober. But because we have welcomed them, we have not even given them the opportunity to be sober. I hope you understand. Mm-hmm. So when they come around into the society, the elders, in the Yoruba society, the elders, they have a way of calling a meeting to put the person who has just come back from the prison in proper perspective, to tell him or her that what you are doing is not acceptable in our society. And please, this is the way we go. And they begin to monitor and watch that person to see that he does things right.
How can this be applied to our political leaders? So not just, the regular thief on the street, but I think, one of the things that can concern all of us is, we see recently in the news, there's some concern about deals being made with China, which may compromise the sovereignty of Nigeria. We see funds being used and then people fainting in public hearings because they don't want to answer a question. How can we create and push that? Is it the citizens? And what can the citizens do to say, you are not a respectable member of society?
Let me tell you a fundamental problem. The society has been so impoverished that people don't even when they know the right thing, they don't want to do it because of money, because of what they're going to eat. All those leaders that we are looking at now, where did they start? What is their background? A governor that has forged his certificate, a speaker of the house that has not attended a university, claiming to have attended that university. What type of behavior do you believe he will put up when he gets? So it is a fundamental problem that we need to address. Let people have value for their education. A master's holder is selling kono on the street. A primary six holder is ruling a state. So there has to be, this value reorientation right from the grassroots, and we make sure that we scrutinize people that want to put in position of authority so that eventually they won't become a kind of shame to the nation. I guess.
Thank you very much, Professor. Yeah. Yes, you have done justice to the issues. So we'll ask one more question.
Okay.
If you had the ears of any political leader, what will you be telling them?
What I will tell them is to give specific punishment for specific evil doing. Whoever does anything wrong, let him be punished. Let him be justly punished. And those who are doing right, let us encourage them, because there is no legislation on what to do. If somebody does this, what do you do to that person? No, nothing. So our politicians, they should think of how to make into law. Thank God one Honorable Shitu Alamu was actually suggesting that we go back to the law, the Mosaic law or Sharia law. Whoever still cut off his hand and so on. Though eventually you see almost all the politicians becoming one, having one hand or whatsoever. But we can do a kind of legislation. Look at the time of war against indiscipline during the first rule of Buhari and General Ide Agbon. People were already conforming. They conformed in the bank, in the post office. They were disciplined. But immediately that era went up, people reverted to indiscipline again. So it's because if I have any opportunity to see any of that, is what I will tell them. Let there be law against evil doing in our society.
Thank you very much. We're about to come to the end of our time here, and it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. I think for me and for all of us, the purpose of our organization is we've come to realize that after many years of social and political upheaval in West Africa, throughout the continent, and in Nigeria, we've come to this place where we have lost a sense of ourselves. And what's important about the value in the culture of Omolaubi is that it is indigenous to the African people. As prior to all of the introductions that have caused us some of this turmoils, we had a sense of what is a good person, what is a person of character, and we need to look back. go back into our sources, go back into our roots, and remember all of the ways that we knew how to live. And we will find that we not only know how to govern ourselves politically, but how to protect the environment, how to raise children, how to educate children, how to build civilization again. At the root of all of this is the fact that our real development, our growth depends on returning to the deepest part of our roots, to reconnecting to our ancestral hearts and mind. And through doing this, we will rebuild our mother continent. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.